Good morning. A Yid once came to the great Rabbi Reb Chaim Brisker, and he asked him a halachic question before Pesach. He asks him, am I allowed to fulfill the mitzvah of drinking 4 cups of wine at the Seder on 4 glasses of milk? So he looks at him and he says, this is not a simple question. I need to look into it. I have to do some research, consult some of the books on Jewish law. Come back tomorrow. And this fellow said, thank you, and he walked out. As soon as he walked out, his Rebbitzin says, I don't understand. You don't know that you can't make the 4 cups on milk? Ask any child in preschool, they'll tell you that 4 cups have to be on wine. So he says, I do know that. I also know that if he's asking me if he can fulfill the mitzvah on 4 cups of milk, that he can't afford wine. So instead of telling him no, let's arrange some packages of food for Pesach. Because if he doesn't have wine and he wants to do milk, most people have something meat at their Seder, chicken, meat of some sort. You can't have milk and meat together. He probably doesn't have enough money for matzah either. And who knows, maybe he needs new clothes for himself or his wife or his kids. Let's take care of him. By the time he comes back tomorrow, let's make sure he has everything he needs. And he ensured that this fellow got these deliveries to his house. Here, someone came with matzah, someone else came with some poultry, someone else came with wine, someone else came with all the needs that he needs for a proper Pesach. Different people delivered it. And when he came the next day, to the Reb Chaim Brisker, he told him, it's not really okay. You should try to do it on wine. He said, okay. By that time, he already had wine. He had everything he needed. And he was able to do a proper Pesach. You have to answer the person, not the question. As we get ready for Pesach, Pesach begins in 1 week, next Friday night. One of the reasons they say it's called Pesach, in a joking way, because you pay asach, right? You have to pay a lot. Asach in Yiddish means a lot. So you have to get wine, you have to get matzah, you have to get all the provisions for Pesach. We get ready. And in the days and weeks leading up to Pesach, we are cleaning, we are shop till you drop, we're getting ready, all the different things for Pesach. You have to get rid of all the chametz. You need to sell your chametz, and all the preparations involved in getting ready for this yontif. Pesach originally happened on a Thursday. The first year, 15th of Nisan, when we left Pesach, it was a Thursday. And the Shabbos before, 5 days before, Hashem had a command given to Moshe to give to the Jewish people. And the command was as follows. I want you to take a sheep. Every Jew, every household should take a sheep and tie it to your beds. And they did that. And the instructions were that after 4 days of holding on to this sheep, on the 14th of Nisan, the day before they're going to leave Mitzrayim, they're going to slaughter this sheep, have a celebratory meal, which is really a Pesach offering with matzah, with maror in Mitzrayim. And after that, you'll leave. All different instructions, what to do with the blood, smear it on the doorpost, and very important details that had to be done. When the Yidden did that, right away the Egyptians came running and they said, why are you tying sheep to your beds? We know that the sheep was the deity of the Egyptians. It was their Avodah Zarah. That's what they worshipped. That was their animal that they worshipped, and it was sacred to them. And all of a sudden, Jews are tying it to their beds. So the Jews said, the reason why we're doing this is because Hashem said so. And Hashem is going to slay the firstborn of the Egyptians. Every Egyptian firstborn is going to die. We had 9 plagues that we witnessed up until now. There's a 10th one coming. And this is what the Jews are telling the Egyptians during these 4 days until the 14th of Nisan. And all the firstborn of the Egyptians are going to die. Well, the Egyptians didn't like to hear that, especially the firstborn. The Jewish people were slaves in Egypt. We were in Egypt for 210 years. Slavery hard labor was about 90 years, just under 90 years. Enslavement and persecution, suffering. At the very end, this last year or so, the Egyptians are being punished. First, everything, the water turns into blood, and then F.R.E.E. promises to let the Jewish people go, and it becomes frogs, and then lice, and there's plague after plague. Anything that Moshe said, anything the Jewish people said, or threatened, or warned that there's going to be a plague, it happened. So when the Egyptian firstborns heard that, Hashem is going to destroy, he's going to kill every firstborn, they took it seriously. And they ran to their fathers, and they ran to F.R.E.E. And they said, let's get these Jews out of here. We have to get rid of them because we're going to die. It's going to happen. And their fathers and F.R.E.E. said, no, we're not letting our workforce go. This is our economy. We're not doing it. No way. So they started to fight with them. And they waged a war against their fathers, against the Egyptians. And you had this battle going on internally in Egypt between the firstborns and the Egyptians. Let the Jews out of here. No, we're not letting them go. And for this reason, the Shabbos before Pesach, which was the 10th of Nisan in the original year, because Pesach was on a Thursday, we called Shabbos Hagadol, which starts tonight. It's the great Shabbos. It's the big Shabbos. Always the Shabbos before Pesach is the great Shabbos. Why? Because a great nes happened on this day, a great miracle. Now the Rebbe asks the question, what's so great about this miracle? There are many miracles that happened in Egypt. Every plague was a miracle. Why is this component of the Shabbos before called a miracle, a great miracle? And it's brought in Jewish law, the Torah brings it, and others, that it's a nes gadol, it's a great miracle. And he explains as follows. Miracle number one is that the Egyptians started a war with their own people. They're fighting for the Jews, right? We're the enemy. They don't like us. They're enslaving us. And they're fighting against us. Against each other for us. They want to let us go. It's not just somebody comes and says, maybe we should let them go. They're fighting with their own to get the Jews out of there. That's a miracle. A great miracle is that they were successful in killing many of the Egyptians. Jews didn't lift a finger. But the Egyptians were waging war with each other. Firstborn, every family has many members. How many firstborns are there? There's one firstborn. Okay? They're a minority compared to all of the other Egyptians. You can't start a war with a minority. You're not going to win. And the fact that they were successful in waging a battle and really hurting many of the Egyptians, that's a great miracle. It's a nes gadol, it's a great miracle. And if you think about it from the perspective of the Jew, it's our enemies are fighting to get us out. It's a huge thing. What's strange here, though, is every holiday that we have in the Jewish calendar is celebrated on the date when it occurred, right? We don't celebrate Pesach every Thursday or the second Thursday of the month of Nisan, even though Pesach happened on a Thursday. We celebrate it on the 15th, right? Purim is the 14th of Adar. It doesn't matter what day of the week Purim happened or didn't happen. The Jewish calendar works on a lunar system, and we go according to the moon. And that's what happened. Why do we say that when it comes to this miracle, we're going to celebrate it not on the 10th of Nisan, but we're going to celebrate it on the Shabbos before? This year, the Shabbos before is the 8th of Nisan, right? It's not the 10th. So why do we always celebrate it the Shabbos before? And the Rebbe says because we celebrate on the Shabbos before is an indicator that there's something connected to Shabbos with the uniqueness of this miracle. It's different than any other miracle that we had in history. This miracle of the Egyptians fighting with themselves to let the Jewish people out, that's a miracle which has a connection to Shabbos. And that's why we always celebrate it on Shabbos, and we call it the Great Shabbos. What's the greatness of this? When it talks about Mashiach's coming, David HaMelech in Tehillim says, Mizmor Shir Liyem HaShabbos. He's singing a song of praise to the day of Shabbos. It doesn't mean the seventh day of the week. It represents the time of Mashiach's coming, the Geula, and that era is referred to as Yom HaShabbos. Okay, it's the 7th millennia, much earlier, of course, but it's referred to as the day of Shabbos. It's the time of Shabbos. Why does he refer to Mashiach's time as Shabbos? Why not the 7th or the Geula? Why Shabbos per se? And the Medrash tells us, the Yalkut Shemini tells us, because Shabbos also means a strike or a lockdown or a rest. Something is stopped. What's stopped? It's not just work, but what he's referring to, what King David is referring to in Tehillim, that stopped is that anything that's negative in the world, mazikim, damagers, demons we'll call them, bad forces, evil things, Hi Shnei or Hi Michael, they will be stopped in Mashiach's era. There won't be any more negativity from these forces. And as a result, he refers to it as Shabbos because of that name of Shvita, okay, which is brought about through using the term Shabbos. What's the difference? Well, there's many ways to say you're going to get rid of the damagers, right? The evil things. There's 2 ways to get rid of negativity. There's 2 ways to get rid of any problem in life that's negative, whether it's an evil force or it's a person or it's a situation. There's many ways to get rid of it. There's generally 2 ways. Way number 1 is you destroy it, you kick it out, you get rid of it. Okay, you eject it. It's over. Okay, you delete, you reset. That's one way. There's another way when you could just change it from negative to positive. You could stop the bad thing from being a damaging item and cause it to be a positive item. Which is greater? Is it greater to get rid of the bad, or is it greater to transform the bad? It's greater to transform the bad. You're not getting rid of it, you're not destroying it, you're turning it into good. David HaMelech is saying in Tehillim, Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, praise, a song of praise for the day of Shabbos, the time of Mashiach, because we're not going to destroy the evil and the mazikim and all these things. We're going to turn them, they're going to be good. Everything that Hashem created is good. It's going to turn into good. We're not going to have to delete them and destroy them. That's what it says. Yeshayahu Hanavi, the prophet Isaiah, says that when Mashiach comes, the Gar Ze'evim Keves, right? The wolf will lie with the sheep. Talks about the leopard, he talks about the lion, the wolf. What does he say? He doesn't say they're going to be no more. They're still going to be here. There'll be a wolf and there'll be a lion and there'll be wild animals. But they're not going to be wild. They're going to they're going to lie together with the sheep. So you're not destroying what today is dangerous. You're just changing it from dangerous to be positive, to be good, to be okay. And that's a much greater level. It's much more powerful than just to eject it, just to delete it. In the words of Chassidus, it's called this hapcha chashucha lenahira, where you transform darkness to light. We're not saying that darkness is terrible, let's get rid of it. We're saying let's get light out of that darkness. Let's transform that darkness into light. It says the vision of Avadia Navi says about what's going to be when Mashiach will come, that Edom is going to stop being our enemy. Okay, the enemy known as Edom, which comes from Esav, they're going to stop being our enemy. And the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed Tes, tells us that what does it mean that Avadia is saying this prophecy? Why is he the one telling it to us? Right? Why should he be the one to tell us? Because Avadia comes, he's a ger from Edom. That nation that he's prophesying about, that they're going to become good to the Jewish people, they're going to actually help us to build the Beis HaMikdash, he comes from that nation. Again, you're not deleting bad people. You're transforming negative people. That's the real big deal. And it's not just people, it's not just nations, it's not just enemies. It's taking a component in our life which we think is bad, and instead of destroying that problem, we could transform that problem. And that's how Chassidus wants us to view life. That's how we're meant to see situations, not to have to delete it, but try to transform it. Not just Shabbos when Mashiach will come. It says the original Shabbos, every night, it says, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker. There was evening and there was morning. Okay? When Hashem created the world, 6 days of creation, there was evening, there was morning. Evening, there was morning. It was a system. There was night and day, night and day. Except when it comes to Shabbos. It doesn't say there was night and day. And our sages tell us there were 36 hours of light. Friday, 12 hours of light. Friday night was light. And Shabbos day was light, 36 straight. Now, we don't have that opportunity today. But it represents, if night is darkness, which is the concealment of good, it's the lack of seeing holiness and clarity of godliness in this world. When it was light, that means it was transformed. That's the idea. We're not destroying bad, we're transforming bad. There's another great example. The Gemara tells us that there's a saying, when you want to chop down wood, how do you chop wood in a forest? The handle of the axe is from the forest. It's a piece of wood which comes from the forest, and you're using that to get rid of the trees. Very often, the solution is in the problem itself. You take the issue, and you realize how the issue is really the solution. Okay? It says that there's a tzara, there's a problem, there's an issue among the Jewish people, to Jacob, it means the nation of the Yidden, and from the problem will be helped. Meaning sometimes the solution is in the problem itself. And it's an attitude, it's an approach that we have to see in general, that we have to see how we could use that in our own relationships and in our own dealings in the world. This is the reason why Shabbos Hagadol is such a great miracle. Because it's not that you destroyed the Egyptians. Big deal. Hashem could do anything. Of course, you want to get the Yidden out, you destroy the Egyptians. It's much more than that. You have the Egyptians themselves, our enemies, are fighting to get us out. That's the ultimate transformation of negative to positive. That's taking bad, and the enemy is fighting to get us out. We're not having a war. We're not even destroying them at that stage. They're coming to party and saying, get the Jews out. The same people that earlier were hurting us and whipping us and forcing us to work, now that's transformation. And that's why this Shabbos, the Shabbos Hagadol, why we celebrate it on Shabbos and not on the 10th of Nisan, like most other holidays would be, on the date when it happened, because that's the whole idea of Shabbos. Shabbos is the idea where there's a stop, not a destruction, but a stop. You stop negativity. You stop mundane. You're not destroying, you're not getting rid of things that are not holy. You're not getting rid of damaging things. Regarding when Mashiach will come, it says that it's going to be a shvita of all the mazikin. It's not about that. It's stopping them, not destroying them. It wasn't. This Shabbos represents the concept that the Egyptians themselves turned around and were helping us. It's the wolf lying with the sheep. That's a very big deal. In life, it's very easy to tell a person, there's a problem, get rid of the problem. It's not easy to get rid of it, but it's easy to say to get rid of it. And when we come and say that the problem itself is going to be the solution, that's Nes Godel. That's a great miracle. We have to try to bring up these type of miracles in our lives. Now that we covered Shabbos Hagadol, I want to share a little bit about the history of selling chametz, and not the history, but the explanation why we sell chametz. If you think about it, there's a mitzvah which we know you're not allowed to own chametz on Pesach, and we clean and scrub and get rid of and make sure we don't have chametz. If you can't consume your chametz before Pesach, there's a solution: you sell it to the guy. After Pesach, you come back and you buy it back. It sounds like a gimmick. It sounds like a trick, right? You sold it to him, you bought it back from him. Whether you're trading, you own it, you don't own it. Does he really own it? There's a story about a Yid that was living in a small village somewhere in Ukraine, and for a living, he was distilling vodka. And he made a living from this vodka. He had many, many barrels of vodka, and he was selling it. His customers were local taverns, the next town, 2 towns over, different inns, restaurants. They would buy from him. One year, every year Pesach, he would sell his chametz. Right? He can't finish all the vodka before Pesach. He would go to his non-Jewish neighbor and sell his chametz. One year, the day of Pesach, he comes to his neighbor, and he says, "I want to sell my chametz. Tonight's going to be Pesach. I want to sell my chametz. I have all this vodka. They've been doing it for years." So his neighbor looks at him and he says, "Not this year. I've done it for you for so many years. I don't want to sell it anymore. I don't want to buy it for you anymore." What am I going to do? I can't. I'm Jewish. I can't own chametz on Pesach. I got to sell it to you. Nah, I'm not interested. Find someone else. So he goes to the neighbor on the other side. Knocks on the door. He says, "Listen, I have all this vodka. Can I sell it to you? It's almost Pesach. I'll sell it to you." And he looks at him. He says, "Nah, I don't feel comfortable." So he goes to the next neighbor, and he realized that they have a plan. They got together, probably drinking one night, and they all decided that if we're not going to buy the chametz from the Yid, we'll have vodka for the year, for free. And here the clock's ticking, and you got to sell your chametz before the 5th hour. What am I going to do? So he decides to go to the rabbi. Any solution? He says, "You have a solution. It's called hefker. Hefker means you take the vodka and you disown it. It's your only option. You burn it. It'll take forever to burn." So right outside his warehouse, there was the river bank. He got his workers real quick, and he took all of everything he owned, really, all the vodka, which is his livelihood, it's his investments, everything he has, and he brought it to the river bank, and he just left it there, and he declared, "This is not mine. Anyone that wants, it's free for taking. I don't own this chametz anymore." And he turns around, and he's going to get ready for Pesach. And obviously, he's worried. How am I going to make a living? I owe people money, and what am I going to sell now? And how I'll never recover from this. Then he says, "It's Pesach. I'm going to enjoy this yontif, and I'm not going to let any thoughts enter my mind that after Pesach I'll deal with it." Comes to the Seder, and every once in a while he has this thought, like, what's going to be? And he pushes it away. No, it's a yontif. We're going to be happy. We're going to celebrate. After Pesach, the moment yontif ends, he runs to the riverbank. And he sees every single one of his barrels are there intact. None of them were taken. None of them were open. So he goes to his neighbor. He says, "Listen, I get it. You guys had a plan, but how come no one took it?" He said, "How come no one took it? Your guards were guards. My guards were what guards?" He says, "We came to have our party. We were waiting for this for months, and there were a group of people walking around the barrels. So we came at night. They were still there. We came the next day. They wouldn't talk to us, but we couldn't get close to the barrels." And he realized it must have been some kind of malachim, some kind of angels that were guarding his barrels of vodka because he was not able to sell them. But not guarding it for him. Obviously, he declared it, and it was halachically not his. And he said anyone that wants could take it. But the question is, it sounds like a loophole. It sounds like a trick. You're selling your chametz. I want to share a little bit of the halachic sources of the concept of selling chametz, why we do it, how it's allowed. You're buying it back anyways. If you have to get rid of chametz, get rid of the chametz. So the source of this is in the Tosefta, which says, it's brought in Psachim, what happens if a Jewish fellow is on a ship? Back in the day, let's go back 1,800 years, 2,000 years ago, you're traveling on a ship. You could be weeks, months at sea. You get off somewhere at a port, and the Jew travels with food, right? He needs to have food to be able to survive. In middle comes Pesach. He can't finish all his food. He needs it for after Pesach. He can't throw it over onto all the water. He needs it for a week from now. So what could he do? You go to your friend, your non-Jewish friend. He's on the boat with you. You say, "Listen, I have a gift for you." And if you wholeheartedly give him your box of food and say, "Here, keep it. It's yours," says the Gemara from the Tosefta, it's fine. When you're done, Pesach, you come and he'll give it back to you because he's your friend and he knows why you did it. That's perfectly fine. As long as if he wants, he could open it and eat it on Pesach and you could have no complaints to him because it was a real gift, then it's fine.
How much of that does the Tosefta speak out?
All of it. So if you give it to him, then you are Okay, because you don't own it on Pesach. Okay. And because of that, that's how we do a gift. You can also sell it to him. Let's fast forward a little bit. There were times when people had, like the story, he had a warehouse full of vodka, or he has some kind of, I don't know, factory before the industrial age, but he has large amounts of chametz. He can't just dispose of it. He's a distributor, or he's a reseller, or he's a producer. Can't just sell it. So what you do is you can't just consume it. You sell it to the non-Jew. And there's a whole process how it's done. It's a legal contract. And if he wants, he could use it and keep it, and that's fine. The problem is, in the story of the boat, in the scenario of the boat, you're actually giving him your chametz. He has the package. When you have a factory or a distillery or a warehouse full of stuff, you're not giving it to him. He has a piece of paper that says it's his. So halachically, it's still okay because he does a action. He picks something up or whatever, where he says this is in lieu of taking all the stuff, but it's really mine. In addition to that, we rent him the space where everything is kept. So he's selling you the chametz and renting to you the space, the room, the area that it's in. That also belongs to him. So it's like it's in his domain. Okay. Later on, years later, probably about 150 years ago, it was much more common for people, not just someone traveling on a boat and not someone just producing chametz, anyone in their house. You don't go to the marketplace, buy bread for the morning or for 2 days, and then you're done. You have a pantry full of pasta and crackers and cereals and whatever other chametz you have, which not just chametz itself, but anything that's a mixture of chametz, has some chametz in it. You have that. You want to get rid of it before Pesach. You have to finish everything. Everyone has chametz. Now, not everyone knows how to sell their chametz. So it was instituted that you go to the rabbi of the city, of your town, and he facilitates the sale for everyone. You make him a messenger, you give him the power to sell your chametz. And he goes and sells it to the guy. It's a whole process, how it's done. And that's how we do it. There was a story once where the rabbi sold chametz to the Poritz. The local nobleman, the landowner of the area, he sold him the chametz from the whole town. He was doing it for years. One year, one of his friends told him, listen, don't sell it back. I'm sure the Jews have a lot of merchandise, a lot of good stuff. Don't sell it back to them. So after Pesach came, the rabbi comes right after Pesach to the guy to buy the chametz back, and he says, nah, there's no returns or exchanges. What's he going to do? There's a whole town full of people. They have, and it's a legal contract. You can't steal food. It's in your house, but it's not yours. Which just shows you how we take this seriously. So the rabbi made an announcement. He told all the Yidden, put all your stuff, everything you own on wagons, and follow me to the Partitz's mansion. And they did. And he told them, do me a favor, put the shmatas on the top. All your rags, your junk, your garbage, put that on the top. He thinks that we have these treasures that are chametz that he bought from us. And the next morning, there was a whole line of wagons clanking along. And the Paritz wakes up and what's all this commotion in my town? He opens the window shade and he sees, looks down, sends one of his people, go check out what's going on over there. They go down and he says, I don't know, these Jews, they have old pots and pans and things that, you're sure this is, I thought you had liquor, you have barrels of beer, you have huge warehouses full of pastries. He says, listen, Rabbi, I'm selling you everything back. I don't want any of this stuff. But it just shows you how people took it very seriously. It wasn't something which was just a joke. Oh, we're selling it. And it's still today. You sell something, it's a legal contract. You're either, well, we don't do it as a gift today. We do it as a sale, and it's perfectly fine. I'll conclude with a lesson from chametz. As we get rid of chametz, we have to know that in Chassidus, we're taught that chametz represents ego. The Yetzer Hara is also referred to as se'er. Okay, chametz is negativity and evil. It says when the Alter Rebbe would search for chametz, it took him all night. He had one small room, a whole night. It took him. How long does it take? If it's clean already, you search for chametz the night before Pesach. It's a whole night, 20 minutes. He was searching within himself. He was searching. Maybe there's some area that has a little bit of ego. Maybe there's some area that's a little bit. The Rebbe speaks at a F.R.E.E. about in honor of his birthday. The Rebbe shares that the worst emotion, the midah that you really have to get rid of completely. There's a debate in halacha if you could have a little bit of it. In Jewish law, if you have a drop of it, is ego, is pride. Because that's the source of all problems. When a person has too much gaiva, has too much sense of self, it's all about me. And ego, that's the source. And that's what chametz represents. That's why chametz rises. It's like bread, which is rises, as opposed to matzah, which is very thin. Because Pesach is about getting rid of the chametz, getting rid of ego, getting rid of all negativity, of all ego. So may we get rid of it, sell it, destroy it, wash it away. But the secret and the solution is really to have more humility in our lives, to see the perspective of someone else. Don't try to destroy. The big deal is to transform, to use the negative into positive. Have a great Shabbos Hagadol and continued great preparations for Pesach. Thanks for joining. Make sure to subscribe on the link above. Thank you.
Thank you for a great lesson.